Hey, Zatex here, and today we're just going to be ranking all the cursed cannonballs in Sea of Thieves on a tier list. Now, of course, we have the S, A, B, C, D, and then F. F being the worst, of course, and S being pretty much godlike and like the best. And so let's start with. I'm gonna start with the S tier. Usually, I like doing that. So there are two cursed cannonballs here that I would want to rank S tier. First one is the Ballast Ball. I just think the Ballast Ball is just such a. It's probably my favorite one. It's super effective against galleons and sloops, and even on brigs, but it's mostly galleons and sloops. It just basically makes them sink faster, and it just puts a lot of chaos on those types of crews on those types of ships. So I'm gonna give that an S tier. It's just probably the best cursed cannonball other than the Flameheart ones. Next is probably going to be the Wraith Cannonball. Now, the Wraith Cannonball, we all know what it does. It's basically a shooting. You're basically shooting a keg, essentially. Does a lot of damage. Really straightforward trajectory, so it's pretty hard to miss. And yeah, basically, it just does a lot of damage. And that a lot of damage gives it that S tier. Now, let's move on to the A tier. And A tier, first one I'm going to give is the Anchor Ball. Now, the reason why I'm not giving an Anchor Ball an S tier is because it doesn't do any actual damage to the ship. But yeah, it's still a very effective cannonball though. It gets them anchored and it puts the ship in a stationary position, giving you free cannon shots. And it just takes a lot of time to undo this by pulling the anchor up again. So that's why. If there was an S minus tier, I'd probably give it that, just because I think it's better than the other A tier choices I've given. So yeah. So that next, oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, next A tier would be the Peace Ball. Now, the reason why I say the Peace Ball, well, first of all, let me just say that I used to not use the Peace Ball a lot. I used to think it was pretty useless and that there wasn't a good opportunity. But now that I've gotten better at the game, I've noticed that using the Peace Ball when you get like into a broadside, like let's say a galleon, it's so useful because it's basically you're putting shots in a galleon when they can't even shoot at you. It's essentially you're basically giving yourself like a better broadside with this Curse Cannonball, and I think that's what gives it an A tier. It just basically it basically forces the crew. It basically guarantees the safety of your ship wherever you are circling around an opponent's ship. So I think that does it for the A tier. Now for the B tier, I'd probably say it's going to be the rigging ball. Now the rigging ball essentially is just a worse version of the anchor ball. It quickly gets the sails up and and the timer on it isn't that long. That's why it's like worse. And so yeah, that's basically it for the reason. And I think that should be the only B one. Next, actually no, on the B there's actually two more, the sleep ball and the jig ball. The jig ball and the sleep ball, they're basically the same one. There's really no difference except for the different emote. They basically make the opponent's whoever puts it on, it makes them stationary. They can't do anything. Same thing. Well, that's why I'm giving them B tier. And it's just really effective if you want to cause damage without them bailing or repairing. Next, I would probably put the Helm Ball. And the Helm Ball is I have a few problems with it. The Helm Ball, you can't really. There's not many times where I find myself using the Helm Ball in a way that actually benefits me. I usually use a Helm Ball like if the ship's heading towards a course in an island, just so they don't turn away and they ram it by accident. But like how it happens barely the time, so that's why I'm only giving it a C tier. But along with it, I'm gonna give it the Venom Ball on the C tier. Now, the reason I give it the Venom Ball is that the Venom Ball, it does damage to your opponents, right? But apparently if you combine it with the Fire Bomb, it really takes a lot of damage on your opponents on the enemy ship, and so that's why I'm not giving it like the D or F. It can actually be used effectively, but but commonly it really isn't. So it's only getting a C. Now for D, I'm putting these four. So these two, they do cause some annoyance to your opponent, but really doesn't make it still allows them to do certain actions. It just does it like at a slower rate. So basically, they're just worse versions of these two. That's why I put them there. And then these two, they're basically just regular cannonballs and a firebomb, except with a different trajectory. Uh, and so, yeah, I give them a D tier because they're not too special. Now, for F tier, I'm going to give it to the barrel ball. Now, I hate this curse cannonball. And the reason why is because you don't know the right time to use it. Like, you don't know when your opponent needs to get a wood or cannonballs. It's basically, you're not really, it really has no, it's kind of almost useless. And it's just, yeah, it's pretty much useless. And it doesn't do damage because it's a curse ball. So that's like, it's basically useless, honestly. Like, you don't know when your opponent's, you don't, you know what I mean, right? So that's why I'm giving it the F. So all in all, I think this is a pretty fair tier list for all the cursed cannonballs. Hopefully they're gonna add more. Maybe I don't see which ones, but I hope Um, if you have any maybe feedback about this tier list, like anything you think should be changed, put that down in the comments. But other than that, I think this is a pretty solid tier list. If you guys enjoyed that, make sure to hit the subscribe button and follow the socials, and specifically follow my Twitch because I usually go live quite often. See you guys.